I have 6 o'clock, Wednesday, the 23rd. I guess I want to call the meeting to order.
Motion to call to order.
And we have public comment, 10 minutes for public comment. I don't see anybody in the queue.
No.
So we have to wait a minute or two.
You, Mr. Chair.
I think it's 6, and it starts at 6.
Well, we're at 6:01, so I think we can proceed. We have minutes from the March 26th meeting to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Everyone get a chance to look at them?
Yes.
Any changes, corrections, additions?
There was one correction. You
No.
sent out the updated minutes, right?
Yes, with it was the allocation of up to 150, not 155. So I changed it to 150. Yes.
Are you good with that? Is there a motion out there somewhere to approve?
And motion did I second?
All in favor?
Alright.
Right,
Do we need a roll call?
Since he's on, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's on Zoom.
Okay.
I think just to be safe.
Any?
What do I say?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya Walker, yes.
Yeah.
And yes.
Sally Houghton, yes.
And I'm a yes. We have the opera funds application to look at. Anybody have comments on that?
This is the one that's the Word doc, right?
Yes.
Everybody get a chance to look at it?
I have a few
I did.
questions, but I also wasn't here last week or last month, so my apologies if they're
No,
repeat.
all right.
Sorry, the application or the agreement? The AR
Mm.
agreement?
It was the application. And then I think they were in two separate docs, the eligibility.
We're also looking at it under this item, an RFP for the marketing options funding. Comments on the application process?
Oh, I see.
Well, the
I had a question about the application. Are all of those different categories required to have responses? Or if some categories are non-applicable, can you write NA?
I think
So it depends, can you repeat that? So when you're filling out the application, if it doesn't pertain to you, well, you have the option to just put NA. So if we decide to go through the town portal, to do the application, which is what we did for the facade and sign, and the digital marketing, I believe you can opt in, opt out. I mean, sometimes we make things mandatory, that we'll need the information to proceed, but, some of them could be optional, yeah. Do you have concerns about?
No, I was just because the DPW sign offs and things like that, if you have a private event, you wouldn't need those things. So I was just curious. Like what would be the potential for somebody to respond in that?
I would think the application is gonna show up as it's filled out and get reviewed.
Yeah, so I guess the application, you would look at it two ways, right? So you would look at it one way, this application would be for the funding. So you could set it up, I believe, in the portal where it's filled out like the facade and sign, we have questions, what the event's gonna be, and then you'd go through the separate process. If it's a private event, you wouldn't have to worry about the sign offs from the town, but if you're gonna be using public facilities, then you would have to use one-day event type setup. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
alluding
yeah,
to?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I also just was wondering about the public benefit and the economic benefit. I think I had written in my notes before, I had seen other applications where they reference like specifically the town that the event was being hosted in, so that it would say like, what is the public benefit for Wakefield? Do you think that
Oh, yeah.
would make a difference, or because these are just for Wakefield anyways, it doesn't really matter?
But I think the way you answer that question would be the applicant's perception what that public and economic benefit would be, and that's part of us reviewing the application.
Got it.
You may, project or perceive a benefit that someone here doesn't see, but it's all part of the review process.
And would, I've never written a letter of support before as a business owner. Would we be able to provide examples of like what we're looking for? If somebody has a letter of support,
So
if they should just Google it.
I don't think you need to
No.
ChatGPT, no, a letter of support for any events, I think, is there a spot in the application for any kind of support?
Yeah, so I think what it said here is you need 3 letters of support from businesses. If you're doing something that would benefit the business, and then if you're doing it, there was something about abutters too. needs a
that the
letter of
3 letters of support from abutters if street closures.
Street closure, correct, yes.
And to that end, if you're not looking for a street closure, I think you can kind of pursue it without a butter input.
Correct.
But you would still need the business
Right.
support, or
You'd have to still provide the 3 letters from business owners supporting the event, showing that they feel it's also be a strong economic driver. The only thing I saw is we might want to just the eligibility, we might want to just look at that and just edit it a little to reword it, because some things are repeated multiple times under different sections, and just make it a little more, flow a little more better, and just be a little
Or
clearer.
just the application itself.
Just the guidelines. Is just needs some editing to make it a little more clear.
yeah, it might be, you might be able to structure a little different, like bullet wise.
Yeah.
And then remove some things too that are repetitive in other parts. I noticed that.
So is this something Aaron, you'll tighten up?
I can tighten it up. Yeah, yeah. I let you guys ask your questions and then I can add any input if you want.
So this gets reviewed by us now and sent back to you for a final approval? And you bring
Depends on what
it
this-
back, or are we looking at something where it gets voted on, subject to review of the final application or approval of that?
I would use this meeting just to clear up anything you guys want, and then if you want, I can go back and tighten it up and then
Right.
bring it. I know we have to get moving on this. too.
Yeah, that was my thought.
Yeah, because I know in here too, it mentions grant funding applications are due October 31st. And this is for creative art projects, I understood, and community events, correct? Is that the way you guys all read this too? So,
Yeah.
That's not, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, because, under eligible projects, I kind of went through and just, yeah, I can go, I started to kind of play around with it myself, if you don't mind. Kind of separate the creative events and what would be examples of that, and then community events, what would be the examples of that, just so people have a better idea of what they're looking for, or what you guys are looking for.
But they need permits before they come to us, correct?
That's what was put forward here, yeah. Yes,
If they're denied permit, for whatever reason,
They can't come to you
they
guys.
come to us.
So in essence, we're looking for an approved event before we fund it.
Right.
Or,
I guess
yeah,
it would be
creative
based
arts.
on what it is, though. If it's, you know, a small event that a few local business owners are doing in their place of business, I think that would be different. So I think that's what we kind of need to
Right, so
clarify
so
too.
that's, you know, if an event's not gonna require permitting, they can just bring it.
Right,
If you're looking at an event that's, needs to be, for some reason, permitted, we wanna have that in place and have approvals for that.
and I think that needs to be a little clearer in the application. That, you know, we're not just talking about these big town events that would be
Mhm.
funded, you know. It's gonna be based on what type of event is it,
Right.
what kind of permits it needs.
I mean, I would almost look at it like, building permit. There are some things you can do to your
Mhm.
house that you don't need a permit for.
Mhm.
Paint the walls, take some wallpaper, but there are other things that you need to have permitted
Mm-hmm.
before they get done. And I think, how do we decide what needs to be permitted? Is it a town requirement?
I think you would just follow the normal process of what needs to be permitted normally. For example, if someone wants to do some sort of creative arts project, like a temporary art installation on the common or whatever, this is an example. They would still need to go through Sherry Dahl in the administration's office to get sign off, I think, before.
But some of those permitting, does that need town council approval first
Yes.
Yes.
before we fund it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I think in here, we just need to make some kind of statement that says that, you know, regular town permit regulations are to be followed or.
Yeah, I put
whatever.
a bullet point when I cleaned it up. The applicant must follow all the town's bylaws for their creative art projects and or community event.
The timeline's in there. As permits approvals obtained prior to the grant.
Yeah, so I said, must follow all the town's bylaws for the creative art projects and or events. And then another bullet, the applicant must receive all required permits necessary for their creative arts project and or community event to proceed.
We're gonna decide what is fund worthy.
Yeah.
And where the money would go for their events. They would give us specifics as to where the money.
They would have to give us a
That's- yeah,
breakdown,
That's.
Yeah.
and then we could
that's the
say yay or
application
nay.
process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like, marketing and promotion, business sponsorship, supplies, installation equipment and labor.
Okay, good.
It seems like. What is, oh, and then also, and cost for attendees and cost for business sponsors, that's also in there, so that's pretty cool. What is the public benefit? That's defined in the eligibility section. But then I saw in the eligibility section that it looks like maybe local priorities in creative arts under criteria. I don't know if that was something that was gonna be flushed out, or it's just a statement.
Mhm. Yeah, and I went through and kind of made edits myself, but did it say something about there are 4 criterias you have to meet or something?
Yeah,
And I,
1, 2, 3. Public benefit, local priorities, non-discrimination. I don't see a
yeah,
3.
I didn't know if non-discrimination would fall under the criteria or a part more towards the end, like additional considerations. I didn't know if that was like technically grant. Do you know what I mean? I don't.
I know I've like done grant applications before for events where if you like, for instance, in order to create like accessibility, if you have an outdoor event, maybe you have like designated like areas for service dogs.
Mhm.
I don't know if that would be like something that we would specifically look for, where like to make it all accessible, or like you're saying, Aaron, if it goes somewhere else in the eligibility requirements.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to understand. What's written here, is it more just like the group won't, discriminate against anyone because of these things? I wouldn't really call that criteria,
Right.
criteria, but you could make it a grant criteria if you put in things like you were just mentioning, make the, conscious effort to, provide, I don't know, something like that. I mean, you have to probably legally do it, but goes above and beyond. I don't know.
Do we want, under the grant payment, should we put something in? They need to fill out the reimbursement request and send it to you, but should we put something in that they also need to provide copies of receipts?
Yeah, so, yes, that's what I've been doing now. What people, the way I looked at it is they would apply through you guys, you would, approve them at this meeting, one of our meetings, and then after they would get an award letter from you guys stating that these are what the funds can be used for. 10 things of what they must follow. The funds must be used by this, and it's like almost a contract that they signed with you guys and the town. And in that it says this is a reimbursable grant. You must show pay receipts. I forget what the other things I've used in the sign and facade. That's kind of what I've been doing. And then they've just been submitting receipts. I don't have a reimbursement form. It's just they send in the receipts with the invoices and then I process it that way. But that might be something to think about too, having an award letter contract as well as part of it. And where you list what they were approved for, and the amount they were approved for.
I got a question on the June 27 date. Should we tighten that up and have it?
Well, that's why I had a question too. I wrote, we should think about this. If this is reimbursable, then you can't be June 2027.
We need to have it by the end of 26.
Yeah, so I would say like September, October of 2026, because then to close out and make sure all the payments go through,
Yeah.
you probably want to have some wiggle room. So that's why I kind of stated September, October, because then you have those summer months where there's events. I know.
Yeah, this eligibility still says June of the 27.
Yeah, so I would, 2027, yeah, I would change that.
Make that October or November 1 of 26.
Yeah, at the latest, just to make sure all the payment,
Say October.
yeah,
Yeah.
because then if we don't spend all the money,
I have a question, it might be in here, though I missed it, but so if they wanted to apply for something in 2025 and then again in 2026, are they eligible to apply twice? Or is it a one-shot deal?
I don't see why you couldn't apply for 2 events if you're doing 2 different events.
As the organization?
Yeah.
So say I want to do a parade, in October this year.
Yeah.
And I want do the same event next year. Can I apply twice? Or is it?
I don't see why not.
Could we put a clause that just says like, your initial application will be prioritized, but your second application will only be considered if like there's no other.
Upon review of the first event.
Yeah, or like if there's no other first applications on the table, like if there's 2 opportunities for the grant funds and one's a new event and one's a recurring event. Maybe the
Yeah.
new event would take precedent.
Got it.
Yeah.
But to that end, you're gonna know through the course of the cycle, what's available for funds for a second event or a second go round on something. And it's still another application, which if we don't like how it went or didn't see any benefit, we can say no the second time. Just because we approve something once,
It doesn't mean it's guaranteed.
doesn't mean it's guaranteed to get approved again. It's an application and it's our place to review them.
Yeah.
And that's held up the question.
I do, is this like a rolling basis? Are you guys looking at this as a rolling basis grant? Because it says grant funding applications are due by October 31st, 2025.
Right.
And so,
And it also says no late applications accepted, so it's hard for someone
to know,
to know
It-
if they're gonna take a shot at an event for late 26 if they're doing one in 25.
yeah,
Had a question about no late application, so do we put something in there where it says if on the first cycle, there are additional funds remaining? And there can be another cycle for events?
I would say something about a rolling basis, just because you guys are gonna get bombarded with all these applications at once, at one meeting, and again, people may not know. Say they have an event in February, right? I don't know,
I'm good with a rolling.
until funds are depleted on rolling basis,
Yeah.
until funds are depleted, or October or September 1 of,
So if you're gonna do a rolling thing, do you look at October 1 as the application date for 2026 events or 2025 events?
um,
And say, after this date, events will be considered for 26?
Well, like you have like a cutoff for 2025 and a cutoff for 2026.
And if you're worried about getting too many applications in October,
no, I would just, people apply as they go, and then, um,
so there's gonna be no late
Deadline.
application. date.
no. That's the way, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what that's just an idea I was thinking.
so I think we strike that.
I think, especially considering that we meet once a month for only an hour, if we got 12 applications even,
That's
by,
Yeah.
yeah, we would be here for 6 hours probably, you know? Um,
So we're gonna strike that late application line.
Yeah, I think just, this program, um,
Applications will be accepted on a rolling basis.
until, funds are depleted, or
Yeah.
October 1, 2026. Right?
Yes. Yep.
is there also like, going back to applications that need town sign offs? Uh, those applications, like permitting applications, have to be in a certain time before the town council meeting so that it gets on the agenda.
Mhm.
Do we want to have a clause like your application has to be submitted 90 days before your event, or does that matter?
Yeah, well, these funds will not support anything with liquor. We have that in here, or alcohol, I should say.
I think the application on the website for any permit has to be in 90 days before
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah,
So like if, I'm just kind of brainstorming, like if an event submits an application, if today is Wednesday and they submit it on Monday, it can't get to the agenda because the agenda's already posted, right?
right, yes.
Okay, so so the application has to be submitted at least before our EDC agenda is posted.
Yes.
Okay.
Or it would go to the next month.
Right.
Mhm.
Is there,
We could put like a table together, I guess, on the creative events or whatever we call this webpage, where it's kind of like the zoning board of appeals. If you have all your permits already and you want to be on the EDC agenda, we need all your documents. We need your application by this date to be on this agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
that might help, just, I'm thinking of any business owner that's scatterbrained, not that I would know if that would be. But that might be helpful.
So like a timeline.
In the liquor clause, does that mean that there can't be liquor served at the event, or that,
You just can't be reimbursed.
yeah, that makes.
Sorry, I
sense, yeah.
wasn't, sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's not something.
You can't get a grant for liquor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If your permit process needs a license, a licensing from the town, then that's part of your approvals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we're not giving you money to go to the liquor store.
That would be wild.
Um,
May I ask another question about the, letters of support from business owners. Do these business owners have to be just any business owners that we know, or are they supposed to be directly involved with the event?
They should be directly impacted.
Okay, impacted or involved. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so say like I was thinking like if you had something at the common, you know, you're not part of it, but someone comes to you like, I'm having an event on the common. Can you say, you know, put a quick letter of support together saying how you see a benefit for bringing people into town
Yeah, yeah.
through this event,
Cool.
right?
Yeah. So like downtown businesses.
Yeah.
If it's a.
No,
common-
I like your language, impacted or involved.
Yeah.
You can be involved and not necessarily be 50 yards from the common or
Mhm.
50 yards from the location. If you're a Greenwood business,
Yeah.
Or
Or
could still
right,
bring-
and
And
why
you
is
see
it
something-
relevant? Yeah, totally.
you're involved. You can speak to the benefits.
Cool.
But again, cycle back to, we're reviewing the applications.
Yeah, yeah.
What were you guys' thoughts? So I can clean this up. So I'm glad we have a timeline, here, a better idea on the timeline, which I think is important to call out too as part of this. Highlighting, you know, like, so when I was kind of playing around with it, like creative art and I wrote nature-based projects. I don't know, like if people want to do like a pop-up park or something like that, you know, you still need all the bright permits and stuff. But I gave like a few examples to give people's ideas, like installing temporary public art, building shared spaces, temporary light installations, public seating, temporary public seat, because that's a bigger thing. We have there's like certain committees, so it's gonna be a lot, but anyways, pop-up parks I have as well. But is that what you guys meant as creative art ideas?
Yeah, like I would see like, I know in years past, the businesses downtown participated in like a story walk where each business had a page of the story in their window and the parents could bring them around so I would say something like that would.
Like placemaking type, it's not like an event type thing, but it's like a placemaking
Mhm.
type activity, okay. I didn't put placemaking because, oh, I did, actually, I know not everyone knows exactly what that means,
But it's a nice broad term, which is helpful. Yeah.
and then I had another bullet, community events that benefit the greater community. A few examples, food festival, open mic night, block party, art show. Well, block party, they're just examples. I don't think we'd be funding a neighborhood block party, but,
Porch Fest?
Arch Fest, yeah. Like, but like, I think we've had block parties where we've like closed down a part of North Ave and it's been the business block party, but
Yeah.
like not a neighborhood personal block party we would support.
Would a holiday stroll?
I think a holiday stroll will fall into that, yeah.
so do you want to keep, I guess my question when I work on this for you guys, and I know Julianne mentioned possibly talking to the art council as well. Do you want examples or do you kind of want to leave it?
We need examples from the.
That's why yeah.
I don't think we need examples. I think keeping it more general
Okay.
and then, you know, just putting somewhere in there that we reserve the right to have the
Oh,
final
I think
decision,
you
you know.
can do some outreach to the arts councils.
Okay.
I think just the parameters of it having to be a Wakefield business or a Wakefield resident, that's definitely narrows it down.
Mhm.
I think some outreach to like the business community too, saying we now have this grant available would get businesses thinking about what events they could hold or what, how they could collaborate together and do something. So I think we should definitely push something. I think we should push this out in an email, Erin, like
Okay.
to the facade, because I think it would really, you know, businesses, I think, knew the money was available, get them really kind of thinking of what they could do with it. Because I'm sure that's limiting for a lot of businesses worrying about the funds.
Oh, I have something to say, an item's not anticipated.
Um,
In a good way.
I was just going to, So I just started like moving things around. I didn't really change much, but so you think this stuff can be kind of taken out here, the red?
I don't know, do you think that would limit people to what they think they could do? Oh.
Oh, sorry, let me see if I can zoom.
I mean, it says a few examples, so it's not like only,
Like a,
Yeah,
yeah.
Examples are examples, they're not limitations.
I just thought it would generate
Right.
ideas for people too,
Yeah.
to give them
Mhm.
idea of what it is. And then like community events, food. I would not be able to see that from there. Open mic night, I know there's some things that happen through the rec, throughout, not through the rec at this, Albion. Okay,
I'd make that non-residential block party maybe.
business centric block party or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, yep.
I had business block.
Okay. And I noticed too, a few times it was called out here, community input process. The EDC determines its own eligibility requirements based on the community input process. What is that?
I don't know, I had a question about that too. You determine what that,
Is that people that come on the call and might put in their 2 cents or,
To me, that sounds like a deletion.
Hmm.
okay.
yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that needs to be.
And then I did add this, these funds are not to be used for working capital such as rent, payroll, utilities, et cetera. I had that for something, but I think sometimes that's important to be called, I added that to be called out. Yeah.
I think any standard disclosures that you put on any other grants, we should probably.
Okay. But I can, okay, I'll clean up. Those were my questions. Those were my big ones. I think the grant criteria I'm still uncertain about. It might, this felt long to me. There might be things that can maybe be put in an award letter that people sign a contract to. All the stuff in red, I was wondering if it could just be moved.
I think less is more, as
Mhm.
much as.
I know a lot
Yeah.
of this is like protecting the EDC from
Yeah.
your decisions you make, but there might be a way that you could have that on a different
Yeah,
document or when the
You can-
contract or what
there's-
goes
that
in.
they
You put
sign.
that, you can add that protective language to the denial or the approval,
Mhm. Yes,
rather than have it here.
yeah, when they sign the,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. And then,
yeah, I think for this process, we really need who's eligible, what will fund, kind of like the basics, so they know if they can apply or not.
Now I saw somewhere that if they were denied, can they evaluate and reapply? Or is the denial across, like a, you know,
I'd say like if it's an event and they apply without getting their permits, and then we deny them for that, but then they go, oh, wait, that's what I forgot to do. And then they follow the procedures and they have everything in place and then they apply. I don't see why not.
Well, because we have language to the opposite of that in here.
Hmm.
So do we want to work with that?
that this right here, an applicant may not request reconsideration.
is this in the eligibility or in the application?
It's in the grant review deadline compliance.
Okay, thank you.
So right after we deleted, will not accept late applications, because we changed that to rolling.
Yeah,
And then the second paragraph. And, so maybe that any denials can be subject to resubmission upon revision, or do we, I mean, if there's part of an application or something going on that we don't like,
They could come back.
and someone said, all right, we'll delete this, we'll change this, then I don't think we're gonna have 20 or 30 applications. So I would like to think if something pops up that we could potentially fund, even though we don't like an aspect of it,
Yeah, it could.
we can, it's almost like a withdrawal without,
Penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, if I were an ambitious business owner, I saw this opportunity, I jumped on it, but I didn't really have all my ducks in a row. Maybe I didn't know the
Yeah.
process. Like you said, like, it would be cool to be able to get the opportunity again, especially if funds are available.
it's
Yeah.
almost like a Board of Appeals pulling something back
Mm.
before you
Mhm.
actually push it forward.
All right, so we can reword that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Erin.
It's a lot of work. Thank you.
Oh, Julian, I'm just reorganizing it, I think. Did you guys,
did we want to get this approved while we're here?
I think it should probably be all rewritten before we officially vote on it.
Can you,
do it right now?
yeah?
The whole thing?
No, I guess, so this gets tabled to next meeting for another revision, or we've worked on the document and you're comfortable with what it's gonna be?
I would say we should probably review it one more time.
Yeah, just in case.
How about the next meeting, I'll come with the
Final,
final
Yeah.
award letter, so you can see what that will look like with some of this language, and then, maybe the application itself, which we didn't review, but I think based on what I would call it more program description than eligibility. I think I'll just base it off a lot of that stuff.
based on our review, we're planning on having a votable, approvable document
Next meeting.
this meeting.
And I mean, hopefully everything would be really ready that I could go after that, go to Jen McDonald, get it on our website, and then get things rolling by. Yeah, it's already April.
Could you
Do we
Could you
get,
put something out on the website that's informational and not yet application worthy?
Yeah,
Um,
coming
Or
coming
are we getting
soon
ahead
kind
of
of a thing.
ourselves
I
saying?
think you're getting it.
With the,
I would just wait. It's something I could work on maybe behind the scenes, and then once you get the sign off from you guys, if there's any last minute changes,
Yeah.
then we'll be ready to roll. Especially with the summer months coming and stuff too, before Memorial Day. Maybe we can have it up that following week
would we be able to see a revised draft?
prior.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we
That
met,
way, hopefully there's less.
Yeah.
Right.
So then we come
Yeah.
ready.
Come ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Just a quick question, should there be a cap on something so that, say someone wants to do, is gonna be doing 2 events this year and 2 events next year? And they're using, 20,000 to say of that money. Should there be a cap on a certain organization to say,
that's a good point, because you could have someone that comes in.
4 times a
Heavy.
year? Says,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm having all these events, which are
Mm.
great, maybe great events, but there's a lot of, a lot of money going out for one organization. And it might not happen, but
right, and if it does happen and we like the events,
Yeah. I guess, could you say like, first time applicants will always be prioritized?
but at the end of the day, approvals are subject to the Economic Development
Yeah.
Council. And if someone applied for something and they applied for 4 events at the same time, looking for 5,000 for each event, I think we would be allowed to make a decision that says we'll fund 1 event for now. If if you want to resubmit an application for another event, we'll review it. But the council doesn't want to blanketly approve 4 events over a time period by the same entity. I don't know if you need to have that on the application, Aaron, or if those are notes or just reality.
Maybe like additional considerations.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm always the
Mhm.
devil's advocate. That's,
So that's really,
No, that's a good, I mean, yeah.
no, I can do
Great.
this to you and, they'll pay for it, so.
Priority will be given something along those lines.
Yeah.
To first time applicants throughout the process or something.
This goes right back to my right of revising. Someone comes to us with 4 events over 18 months. We can say, no,
yeah,
we'll approve one of these. Feel free to revise your application for one event
yeah. I think that's really smart.
and resubmit another one at a later date.
Mhm.
Because I would hate to commit, pick a number, $20,000 to one entity when there's 6 other people who are looking to do events and the
That's
money's
just-
already spoken. for.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really true.
Okay.
So are we good with that for now?
Yeah, and I do want to call out too, it does say here, just so this group knows, I think there's some language about the EDC members too.
Being able to apply.
Yeah, it can be volunteer or something. I didn't know if you guys were comfortable. Where is that language?
Yeah, I just saw that. Can,
Did I put that? I can move things around now. I can't remember.
saw,
I mean, there is modification language in here already. You talk about the denial and the resubmission, which were taken out anyway.
It's under applicant eligibility. Members of the Wakefield EDC may not apply for ARPA funding, but can be volunteers assisting an applicant project or event.
Okay,
Are you guys comfortable with that? Yeah,
yes,
And I think if,
I actually prefer that.
okay.
if we had any association, we would just have to not be able to vote.
Abstain from vote.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right, so I will try to, so our next meeting, if we're gonna stick to the 4th Wednesday would be the 28th. Right, so I could get this to you at least a week before. Okay,
RFP for municipal marketing events,
is that me?
Yeah.
Um,
and to that end, we have the banner.
Yes. so a few things. So this is the marketing and PR RFP. This is coming from the $150,000 that this group allocated based on the discussion of doing a marketing and PR campaign. Since we last met, I spoke to a few different municipalities. I reached out to a bunch of different economic development directors throughout Massachusetts to see if they've done anything similar. Unfortunately, I didn't get really any response back other than that's amazing. Like, you're so lucky you got the money to do that. So I didn't really get, I was hoping just kind of hear best practices, if they had an RFP I could look at, but I didn't get anything back. So I did notice that Lowell and Lawrence, which are a whole other beast, I know, did have an RFP out to do marketing and PR, which was interesting. A lot of the things were how to kind of build up their reputation, how to market the cities as a place to be. And I think that's kind of along the lines of what this group was hoping to do with our marketing and PR. So what I was going to do was kind of pull things from there and put together an RFP for you guys to review. To present at the next meeting. And based on that, I think $150,000 is a lot of money. You could probably put that over 3 years or so, based on what I've seen with other from Lowell and Lawrence. I think one of them was like 100,000 over a couple of years or 3 years. And again, a much larger community.
Did you reach out to Winchester at all? Because I've noticed, I was doing some research and I noticed that they put together a really nice webpage
Yep.
for business outreach. and I
Okay.
wonder if they've done
Yeah,
it.
so they just did kind of what we're gonna start doing is a market assessment analysis, fiscal impact analysis. And from there, they did kind of like a rebranding thing.
Mhm.
So I haven't noticed so I did talk to Taylor, their planner over there, and he sent me their RFP, so I was gonna pull some things from there. I guess just so this group knows, and we are currently going under a new website redesign with Civic Plus, the group we already use for the website. So Jen McDonald's leading that. So
In Wilmington, let me just double check.
I think Winchester's doing like a rebranding, which I know Jen did right when she got here. So I'd be mindful of rebranding with like the logos and things like that. So I just would want to build upon that, not recreate. But I know Wilmington did like a do business in Wilmington type thing. Is
It was
what you're
that,
thinking
yeah,
about?
it was that, and they put together like a website for business outreach. So I didn't know if maybe they worked with somebody
Okay.
on that.
So with that being said, I'll start pulling that together, but I think 150 is a lot, and I'm hoping I could use some of that money to actually pay for some new banners in the downtown, from this fund, because I do think that is marketing, NPR, and actually we're working with the chamber who has got a state earmark to do, some of the banners as well. So altogether, we'll have 5 sets of banners, 4 for each season, and then just a generic Wakefield one. And I'm more than happy to show this group here if you'd like to see. But I was hoping I could pull some of the funds from our marketing and PR money and just lower the 150 for the campaign to like 125 or so. So that we could do this.
We're gonna be that much, projecting 25 for that?
13, but then I just thought some wiggle. I could go up to like 130, 135, but
Yeah, let's make it 15 or 20,
okay.
call it 20.
If
If
you're
we-
gonna do 5 sets.
So we're paying for 3. So it's 13,111,
Can you
$110.
25 for 3 sets?
What's that?
Do you have a quote on?
I do.
It's 13 and change. I think.
13.
Well,
We might have to buy new, that just includes the banners.
Yeah,
because-
so it's 3 sets of, and we're gonna be expanding into Greenwood too. So I guess I should add that. We thought it would be important to include Greenwood too as part of this. It's kind of a gateway from south.
I know that, talking to Dennis, he was saying that a lot of the
Brackets, yeah.
brackets are really bad.
Yeah, so we may need
So
to
you might
purchase,
just, I think I bought those before.
yeah,
That was like years ago. now.
yeah, so,
I bought them for the light department, because they needed the brackets.
yeah.
Went into the banners, so it's gonna cost more money than just banners, so.
Yeah, and when I know Jen was going to talk to folks within town that take the banners up and down to see what new brackets we needed. We counted how many brackets we'll need for Greenwood, so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Just don't want to hit the municipal market budget too hard. Because I really think that's something that we should be doing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think we could still get a lot of work done for $125,000 for a community our size.
You think that's a 2-year rollout? Or is that for that,
I think you could get 2 years out of it.
125?
I think so.
Steve?
Yeah. I can find out. Again,
Is that just
I'd like-
labor?
I'd like to get it
Is that just labor?
voted on if we have numbers.
I mean, what you could do right now is just approve me for the 13,110 for the banners.
I'm happy to bump that to 20.
I think we
We
should
should
do
use 25.
20,
Yeah.
because it does play into the marketing PR. If you guys want to see them, do you want to?
Yeah,
And is that money coming directly from the town or is that going through chamber?
So the chamber's paying for two sets.
So what we're voting on now, though, wouldn't go through the chamber, that would.
No, through this funds. So let me zoom out if I can. So it would be for each season. So this is winter. These are real photos. So this would be the winter. The spring. Summer. Fall.
Somebody to paint the boat.
And then these would just be the generic ones. So you see it has a chamber on there as well. The thought process was keeping it pretty generic just because the other ones have so much color and want to draw attention to the other ones, the photos and stuff. And you'll see, so this is the one the chamber will pay for, so their logo's on that too. So that's where we're at.
Those are nice.
Yeah, those are nice.
Make it work.
I would like to make a motion for 20,000 from the municipal marketing budget to go to the banners.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Annie?
Aye.
Aye.
Tanya?
Tanya, aye.
Ian? Ally?
Yes.
And I'm a yes too. Rocco?
Aye.
On that note,
I'm sorry, Annie's, and then Annie, you seconded? Yes, okay.
Second.
Oh, Ally said.
Ally,
Okay.
do we want to approve 125 for municipal marketing money?
130.
130 rather.
So I remember last meeting, we voted 731 through the pop-up RFP to be pulled from that budget, so, I think you could just say like the remainder, because you've already allocated 150, to marketing and PR. Oh, so you want to have it exactly be that? you
Yeah.
think? Okay. Just,
So do you need to say for 2-year period or just a 1 year? So, to make a difference.
I don't think that matters. The campaign.
so with that said, it's $129,269 to be allocated towards.
129, 2.
Yeah.
Buddy,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Can you just say what the motion is? Sorry, makes a motion to,
To, accept the 129,000 some odd
216.
used for. Give me some more
And
money.
change.
Change.
Use.
Municipal marketing campaign.
Rocco seconded.
Okay, I'm not
Yeah.
very good. Okay,
All in favor? Annie?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Ian? Ally?
Yes.
Rocco?
Aye.
Chris, yes. Thank you.
so I'll have an RFP hopefully for you guys to review next time, or, but, yeah. If there's anything I'm forgetting that you want covered in the RFP, you can let me know that.
On the business driven events subcommittee,
I don't know what that is.
So I think we had kind of started the discussion last meeting about, do we want to put together a subcommittee for events? And Tanya, you were talking about the group you're involved in.
Yep.
So I guess just discuss if that's a subcommittee we want to do, or, do we want to kind of wait until we see what comes in through these grants before we're planning events? I don't know.
Is it a subcommittee to plan or a subcommittee to? So I was unclear on what the subcommittee is for.
I didn't know if this was
Don't,
like
yeah.
a subcommittee to review the applications, is that what, no?
No, I think it's totally separate, but I'm not. I'm just going on base what our last discussion was last meeting. I didn't know we were kind of going to put another subcommittee together.
I
I don't know.
don't recall us putting together a business-driven event subcommittee.
No, but
And is there a protocol for that that we need to follow to have a formal subcommittee?
Yes.
so she reached out directly to me and to sorry. And asked me if I would be involved with whatever, and I said yes, and I had a very busy month and did not follow up, and so I was going to ask her today, be like, hey, it's been a month. What's going on? So yeah, so I don't know if that was like the start of forming a subcommittee.
Okay. I don't know the actual protocol for us to create a subcommittee. What we need to do, is there a vote that needs to be taken? Do we need more info on how that gets
I
put
think-
together?
I think we need to hold off until we can have a discussion of what this is supposed to be. What we're looking to do here, because I don't know, I mean, I think we need to look at it and decide what this is, because I don't know if we want to become event planners.
I don't think we want to be event
No,
planners.
so I'm thinking, you know, maybe we'll at least hold off on this until next month so we can get some clarification of what the thought was here.
Sorry, so here's her email. She said, would either of you consider working on a framework from the EDC that follows the structure of, Somerville's program that I had been speaking about last week? We may be able to partner with the Wakefield Cultural Council. So it looks like just putting together a framework for the events, but that looks like it's pretty much done in the application process.
Unfortunately, don't know.
Do we table that discussion, or
I think we
do
need
we
to.
discuss it and
Yeah,
I
opt not to pursue it any further?
think it's worth her bringing up exactly what she's thinking for this. And then also in the time being, I can ask kind of how, if you guys want to proceed with something like that, the proper way in proceeding
Okay.
in creating a subcommittee within a
Yeah.
company.
So that sounds like it's a table to next meeting.
And
Mhm.
yes, does that, I'm not on, I'm just helping, but I think that might be the best thing, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
I
I
agree. with that.
agree. I agree.
And we have a quarterly council report for the funding.
Yes, so this was sent around to the group. I sent a revised one beginning of the week, end of last week. Just there was a question I had with accounting. I didn't do this last time because it was on when I was on maternity leave. Hold. It was on
Jackets are going on. in the room.
yeah. Maternity leave when this was when we did this for the last quarter. And why we did that was because that's when we officially set up the economic development council funds for the end of last year. So with that being said, I have to put a quarterly report together in partnership with our accounting office. Just saying what funds have been spent this quarter, which is January 1 to the end of March 31st. We did not spend any money this quarter because all that the money we've been doing this quarter has been facade and sign, and I've been pulling from the state budget because I want to close that out from the earmark. I foresee now that it's nicer out, we're going to be seeing a lot of these projects get going. I'm gonna start getting a lot of receipts. So
Great.
we just need to vote. You guys all had a chance to review the quarterly report. Says 0.
Yes.
So Chris, you can sign off on it. I got it was as vice chair, so I guess you just have to vote to approve it.
Motion somebody?
Make a motion to accept the quarterly report, January 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2025.
Second, me something.
Second,
Ally and Ann, first and second. All in favor? Annie,
Aye.
Yes, Tanya.
Tanya,
yes.
Yes.
Ally, Rocco,
Yes,
Chris, yes.
Thank you. I will get your signature.
Reorganization discussion and any anticipated votes? I'm inclined to request we table that until we have a full committee hanging out.
I agree.
I agree.
I saw in the notes that Ally, you threw your hat in the ring to be the committee chair.
What if you would like to, that?
I would not like,
Totally
to. I just am just affirming that I saw the notes.
I know Julianne would like to continue. I think I'd like her to continue as chair. But I think we can table that discussion, but until we have,
Is there a
Full
reason
committee.
it comes up now? Like,
as every cycle, when there's a new committee turnover and a new election,
okay, got it.
Usually the town committees reorganize
it's
every
usually
year.
the town committee's reorganized after an election.
Yeah, like the planning board, they'll just revisit who wants to be chair, vice chair.
We also had a different timeline. for
Yeah.
when we started.
Okay.
We started later. I think we started in October, our first meeting.
Of 2023.
Right.
Yeah.
Our cycle is a little different, but
Okay, got it.
it's become a traditional thing. This is when you do that.
Sometimes people stay on, sometimes they don't.
So that's been tabled as well. Any director updates?
Do you want me to just run through some of the projects we're working on real quick? So we have a signed contract with Up Next for Project Pop-Up. So we're working together, finding a space. I have a meeting with them next week to discuss next steps, in getting this moving. I think what's great is it's about a 14-month contract, 12 to 14-month contract that we signed. So, as long as we can get something going this summer, early fall, we'll still be in good shape to hit that 2026 deadline. So we'll be good there. Market assessment, we are moving forward with Fine Point Associates, working on their contract now. With Peg Behringer, she was the one that did our previous one. We are going to be meeting also, I believe, May 1st as well. But in the meantime, updating a contract that we had last time, bringing it up to 2025. And so we'll add some of the new scope of work. The facade and sign program, if we wrote the program description to say this is round 2 and the amount being offered this time, I'll have on our website now testimonials from about 4 or 5 people that have completed the program and before and afters. I called everyone last week to make sure they're moving forward with their projects and to get updates, and helping them along the way with the building department. So like I said, with the nicer weather, I think we'll start seeing projects really start to take off. And then thanks to Anne and Ally, we have these beautiful posters now that will be going in the windows showing before and after. I don't know.
Nice.
I have this hanging in my door. So proud of it. This is just one example that we'll be having. This is Main Street Grill before and after. We have it for Harrington's, and we're working on a couple more, but we'll make sure we do this every time.
Still, Mike?
Make sure we do this every time. We'll work on promoting it as well.
Queue yet.
What'd you say?
I don't have that in the queue yet, though.
I'm just curious how many we had in the queue.
Oh, Don. So I called.
There's that many. How many we have posted? 4, 5, 6?
Or
Yeah, we have, now the cheese person, what was there before? There wasn't really.
it was a new building, so it has no sign. So it's not really as transformative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don's will look really nice once it's
Yeah.
all finished. I think he still has to do the wood frame around it, but on Albion
You
Street.
have a before on that?
Yeah. So I put in a call to folks. So like I said, I think we'll start seeing more of them roll through.
Good.
So if you know of anyone that would like to take part in round 2, I haven't officially announced it, but we have the money allocated, point them in my direction. We'll get things moving along.
Thank you guys for making the posters. They look really good. That's always like so exciting.
I mean, Harrington's looks amazing.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, I sent them.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the poster.
We
pulled
have
up,
that,
and it
yeah,
looks
with that poster, yeah.
so good.
yeah.
But it's, I think with the posters being out and starting to do social media with them and
Yeah.
all of that, and, we took a picture of, Erin with Jack today, so. She didn't want to be in the picture. I think putting that out in the paper, and I think that might start to grab a little bit of action going that people
Mhm.
might want to say, well, I didn't know about this, or this is cool, let me try it, so.
Is there any outreach to particularly not nice looking businesses? Like, are we allowed to be like, hey,
Stressed.
did you know about this?
Don't look at my block.
Yes, some have been receptive, and I'm working with them now.
Okay,
Others, great, I love it.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll do what we can. Um,
If this second round isn't as popular as we thought it would be, could we then maybe redistribute this money into offering it to the business owners to do upgrades inside their businesses?
that would be something you guys need to, I think, you could redistribute the money as long as it stayed within the four corners of what the money is supposed to be used for. I think you would be okay to do that. I'd confirm, but yeah. Because like right now, like I've been saying, people actually been coming in less with what I'm refunding them for. Because again, they have to show me all the receipts and then I'm like, it's actually half. So like I said last time, we may have extra funds I could do a round 3,
Mm.
see how it goes round 2, and then if we want to redistribute funds.
Do you
Have you
think
had
business
any-
owners would want, like, because you guys, business owners in town are responsible for the inside of buildings, right?
Absolutely.
Have you had any businesses approach you about different things that they might like?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, in the past, even before this money was really even a offering, like, do you know of any grants or loans that are available to help the interior of my building, whether it be new refrigeration, new menu boards, new POS systems, which can be used through the digital marketing, kind of, yeah. New counter, just making things ADA inside as well, new tables, things like that, so.
Yeah, it might be something for us to consider.
I would love that. Digital marketing, about 90% of the applicants have received funding. 90 have been notified they received funding. So now again, it's reimbursement. They just have to send in, again, I sent them a award letter, what they're approved for. I do have 3 businesses that were not brick and mortar in Wakefield, which I found it to be very clear on the project description. Some people thought it wasn't clear, and some home businesses applied. They're good projects and, you know, they're still businesses in town and I'd like to support them. But at this time, I only have $6,725 left over. So I could only fund 2 out of those 3 businesses. So I'm kind of at this weird, do I fund them, or since it's in the program description where it didn't say home businesses, it said brick and mortar. I don't know.
I think we have to stick to what it says.
Yeah.
Because some people didn't apply
for that
because of that reason.
Yeah. So,
Agree with that.
okay. And then downtown banners, we talked about this. Just something too, I got a call from the town of Reading, and asked if we would work with the town of Reading and Stoneham to apply for the Community One Stop Grant Program Real Estate Services Technical Assistant Grant for a regional economic market study and fiscal impact analysis. So this would look at the region as a whole instead of just our downtown area. And I think this is a nice follow-up to what the EDC talked about in February with Peg and how she mentioned this program. This would look at places like Audubon Road, Wakefield in general, and what we could do as a region to, you know, better position ourselves as a place to attract new businesses. I'm always a firm believer on regional economic development. It could help make land use and development decisions. And this kind of study would fall in line with what the EDC's long-term focus is to make new policies and programs. So it could give you some ideas and recommendations of things like that. So hopefully you guys are okay with that to move forward with a bigger regional economic market study. It wouldn't cost us anything. It would be a grant. So, and I told them,
Right.
yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then everything else we talked about. That's what I got.
We have any announcements and apparently a conversation for our next meeting date.
Then 5/28, right?
If we're gonna stick to the 4th Wednesday of every
Wednesday.
month.
Mhm.
We're looking at May 28th for our next meeting.
Mhm.
Right, that's the 4th.
Correct?
Correct.
Yep.
We're gonna loop into the fourth Wednesday of every month,
Mhm.
same time, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Any items not anticipated?
I have a couple things.
Okay,
So I wanted to let the council know that, a few business owners, women-owned businesses in Wakefield have put together, a group, if you will, called She Means Business. And we are going to host a celebration event for women in business at the Hartshorn House in August. We're currently like looking for sponsors for this event. It's just kind of I think some women-owned businesses have said, you know, that they know that there's other women-owned businesses like in Wakefield and just looking for a way to be connected and to showcase each other. So I think that's really exciting. There's an Instagram page, and there's t-shirts too that say She Mean Business. If anyone wants to buy one, I can send you the info. I also just wanted to bring to the council's attention something that I encountered in the last month or so while trying to look into hosting an event at the lake. So I was considering hosting a summer solstice event at the lake, and I was looking at like the permitting process through the town to host a public event. That public event application is $200. And then there's a $100 fee for every tent that is required. As a small business owner who has a limited budget, I find that application fee and the $100 tent fee to be inaccessible and not feasible. It was one of the reasons why I decided not to host an event. And I just kind of wanted to bring that to the council's attention because I think it's limiting. I think it's also a little intimidating if you're trying to, you know, think of new and creative ideas. And there's larger municipalities that don't have application fees for their public event licenses. There's obviously fees for police detail, you know, closing down streets, food permits. Like when you're hosting a public event, there's so many different things that require permitting and fees. So to just kind of be met with that initial roadblock was surprising to me.
Would that be something that should be brought to the town council to review that policy for, you know, different categories for small businesses?
Maybe $900 to use the common.
900? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a huge, and it's a charity event. That's a huge expense.
Well, we've done it. We have a large group that comes, so it has you paying for a certain amount of people. I think it's 100 to 200, 200 to 500, something like that, so.
I can understand needing to pay like DPW and things like that for cleanup. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I think that's also, it's a town council thing, but
Yeah.
that's part of us doing grants for people to do events. Are permits and those kind of things covered under our grants?
Yes.
Application fee reimbursement maybe, a tent fee reimbursement, is that something that we think is covered with our grant money for events?
I think tents would be considered supplies.
But it's a fee. It's a tent fee. It's not even a tent itself.
Yes, the additional, just to put it.
Did we have
Yeah.
any language that covered fees?
Yeah.
It would give you the
Basically pay.
ability to have spent.
We're basically paying back the town.
Funding.
And I think that's what we said.
Right?
Yeah. The,
Facade and sign people have to pay for their own permitting.
for their own permitting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's right, because you would have to get your permits all in order before you come to us to get money.
And it's like, I don't know if that falls into the conflict of interest of town paying for the town.
Yeah, I think that's why we said no to the fee reimbursement on the.
I mean, I personally am passionate enough that I would go before council to talk about this, to have a discussion about it. Because I think in terms of accessibility, like, and just the use of the lake. The lake is beautiful. As long as you're not in it. So,
I do think like, cause usually almost every year they do review those policies.
okay,
And I think it is coming up soon, so I
Okay.
would recommend,
awesome.
Reach out
Yeah,
to them.
I'm familiar with it. I was just surprised. I wanted to kind of like
Yeah.
bring that up. Thank you, Ally. I appreciate
Prob-
that.
cause they do have the different categories. Maybe they need to reassess it. Maybe there needs to be like a local business, small business.
Yeah,
category or something.
absolutely. Yeah, that would be cool.
Anybody have anything else? We have a motion to adjourn somewhere.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Roll call for that?
Yeah, I thought you have to
Yes.
with someone on Zoom, yeah.
Annie?
Annie, aye.
Tanya?
Tanya, yes.
Ian? Ally?
Yes.
Rocco?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Good night.